I wonder, though, Gordy, we haven't really thought about the players in this situation.
No, well, look, I think they're in Queensland. They've made a huge sacrifice. Today I was just reading that the crowd's capped to 50%. So you would think in 5 or 8 weeks that might get up to 100%. If it's 100%, it's a no-brainer. The game has to stay in Queensland. I said it last week with one of my rants. If it opens and New South Wales is open, it goes back there, 100%. Other than that, it stays in Queensland. They were talking about Victoria last week, selling the game. Go ask any kid in Queensland who won the AFL Grand Final last year.
Yeah.
I doubt they know the answer, unless it was the Brisbane Lions. So unless Melbourne Storm are definitely going to play in it, you wouldn't take it to Melbourne, and you can't do it just for that reason. You know what I mean? I think you keep it in the heartland, and sometimes, making decisions for the game can't all be about money, and I know that's what they want to do, but sometimes it's got to be about the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I get that, Gordon, but the Melbourne option is basically strengthened by the fact that the MCG holds 100,000 people, which is 45,000 more than what Suncorp does. It's nearly double what Suncorp can hold. So you would have that option, and then you've got Matt Tripp, who owns the Storm, who's looking to independently promote the grand final, whether that involves the Storm or not. But he's looking to put a package to the NRL, which is a guaranteed sum, and then he obviously then takes the financial risk. Now, if he does that's never happened in the game's history. That's like a boxing promotion or a UFC promotion. Yeah. That's what they do. The Super Bowl have a similar strategy where teams put in bids to actually bring the Super Bowl to their host city. Look, I understand what it's about, but to the NRL's point, V'landys is all about whatever brings the greatest return for us is what we're looking at, because the NRL, like every business and like every sport, has already lost so much money because of all the COVID restrictions and the sanctions that have been put on and around the game. So to come up and say, well, okay, this is Brisbane, they're going to have a 45,000 strong grand final, and let's just, for example, say that's a $10 million result for us. We can go to the MCG, we can have a 100,000 strong grand final, and that's an $10 million result for us. Or we take it to Melbourne, it's an $20 million result for us. Then that's a lot of money for the NRL for the sake of heartland fans to say, well, no, we're still going to play the game in Brisbane. So that's a lot of money to sacrifice.
Perfect world in Brisbane or Melbourne. They both come to the NRL and say, Brisbane and Melbourne both come to the NRL and say, we can have full crowds. You, Paul, you're saying Melbourne.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not going to declare my hand anywhere, but I don't think the argument that Brisbane deserves it because it's a heartland city, I don't agree with that. I think the reason we're even considering Brisbane and not in Sydney where it's always played is because of the unusual circumstances. But if that's the criteria for why Brisbane's considered, then Melbourne should also be considered.
Yeah.
Because it would be unusual to play the grand final in Melbourne, but the fact is if it's going to deliver a greater financial return, then it's hard to actually argue against Melbourne.
Well, if we're going to say that, if the argument or the point is here, Hoops, that Mr. V'landys says we've got to get the most dollar in, if that's the case, it's how many bums we can get on seats, then that 100% rules Sydney out, because even if Sydney was to come out of lockdown, it's not going to come out of lockdown and go straight to full capacity stadiums.
But they've got 2 months to get there, Anthony. They got to the end of September, remember, for the grand final. It's not the start of September when the finals start. So you can play you can still play all your semi-finals in Queensland and the grand final. And again, ANZ holds a lot more than Suncorp. So it holds about 25,000 more than Suncorp does. So again,
but you're still missing the point, because Queenslanders are turning up now, and then we're in lockdown, and they ask them to come and watch teams that they don't follow. They turn up. So, okay, well, we're going to use you now. Can you come and watch us for 9 weeks?
They're not being used.
And then support,
please.
And then support the game. But then the grand final, let's just move it away from you guys.
Okay. So hang on. So one thing, that the fans love the game so much they deserve the grand final.
Absolutely, they do.
Okay.
So why does Sydney deserve it every year then?
Because it's been played there for 120 years.
Well done. Good on you. And it's been played here for 100 years as well.
Well, go back and play it.
Have been playing
It's
here.
called the Brisbane
Rugby League's
Rugby
been
League.
playing here.
Yeah, it's called Brisbane Rugby League. Go back and play it there.
See, and that's what we always thought that you thought.
Yeah,
Kepi,
well, we
thank
do
you so
think
much
that.
for our new
So that-
Origin.
Hey, don't worry, mate.
It's
not
so
been-
good.
mate.
It's so good. So
Hey,
you want us
let's
in our comp,
remember-
but we're not allowed to win it.
No, you're allowed to win it. You just have been invited to play in this competition, though. But the parts,
run
it
so great.
doesn't make sense that Queensland love rugby league so much that they deserve the grand final. Yet we're now.
Well, Melbourne doesn't
but
either.
But
Neither
then we're
does
trying
New
to. But
Zealand.
you're trying to
That's
sell
my
that it's been
point.
some sacrifice to
they
support them
don't
through this
deserve it.
period.
They
If
don't
they love it so
deserve
much,
it.
they're enjoying this period as equally as much.
Okay, because they got bigger pockets, someone deserves it. Is that what you're trying to say?
Hello, it's a professional sport.
Ah, please.
That's the whole.
And that's what I said
why,
sometimes.
That's why a guy will sign with Brisbane and not sign with Gold
Half
Coast
an hour
because of
ago,
the
you
money.
said that the game's for the fans. Half an hour ago, you said it's all about the
And
fans.
what, so
and now
there's no
you're saying
fan-
it's about
so
the
there's
money.
there's fans everywhere, Gord. There's fans in Melbourne. Believe it or not, there's fans there.